And we're back.
Hello.
Hello. We're here with Tom Miller.
Good afternoon.
Tom, what is your actual title with the Appleton Historical Society?
I'm actually the treasurer,
Okay.
one of the board members,
Cool.
but we all wear a lot of hats over there.
I believe it. Well, I'm so excited to. I know we both are because, as I told you,
I'm very
Nick is
excited.
a big history buff. I like learning about it because apparently I couldn't pay attention back in school, and I just think it's going to be very exciting. So
Absolutely.
thank you for being here with us. We'll do our little ladies intro.
In the know in the 920.
We have our own little jingle. All right. So we're back with Tom Miller.
Yeah.
I just feel like I just want to listen to you.
Yeah, just
Tell
teach
us
us
all the
everything.
Things. Tell us all the things. Maybe let's start with. So again, you're the treasurer for the Appleton Historical Society.
Correct.
You obviously wear a lot of hats, do a lot of things. How did you get started? Have you always been interested in history?
I've always been a history buff, especially growing up in Appleton. Loved
Sure.
the history, loved some of the old buildings downtown.
Okay, so you grew up here.
Correct.
Cool. Okay.
So I got on the board of directors for the Historical Society almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
And the society's been around for 15 years,
Okay.
and the mission is to preserve and share the history of the city of Appleton.
Sure.
And after I got on board, we had a small museum on Durkee Street, and we were starting to outgrow it. We had too many artifacts, too many stories to tell.
Sure.
And we needed a bigger space. And last year, the Sitzman building on the corner of Franklin and Superior became available.
I love your location now. It's such a cool building.
Mr. Sitzman was retiring from law practice, and he did not want to see that become a parking lot. So
I love that.
one of our board members happened to stumble in there, and he said, well, I would rather see this a museum than a parking lot. So
Sure.
building is really historically significant. It was built in 1931 as the Wickton Funeral Home originally.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it was the Wickman Funeral Home up until about 1960.
Okay.
And then it became Alex's Manor House, which was
Okay.
a very exclusive supper club
Oh.
restaurant downtown Appleton. And
That's cool.
eventually they ended up on the south side and became Alex's Crown, which is now
Oh.
The Red Ox Supper Club. So
That's awesome.
See, we're already learning so much.
I'm so happy
That's so
right
cool.
now.
I love that.
So it went through a number of different
Yeah.
restaurants. One time was called the Hot Fish Shop. There was a bar in there called G. Willikers. Most contemporaries would call that the old Mongo's restaurant.
That's what I remember.
And that was the first Mongolian barbecue restaurant.
Do you remember that, Nick?
I do not remember that.
He's too young for that.
So, yeah, I was going to say, so Nick is my brother, actually. We obviously work here together, but he is 12 years younger than me. So I loved that place. You would like go in there and sit on the floor, and it was so good.
They had the Inner Mongolian Lounge upstairs, which
Mm-hmm.
had a little recording studio. From what I gather, Corey Chisel's cut a few
Very cool.
tapes up there, and we found some interesting remnants from those days.
I love it. I love it. What a cool building.
It was very cool. So we took ownership May 1st of last year.
Okay.
Coincidentally, I retired at the exact same time. So going into retirement, I had to have something. You know, they always say you don't retire from something, you retire to something.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
That's such a good point.
So
Yeah.
I retired into a full-time job.
Yeah.
But we had
Isn't that
a
funny how that works?
we had a great group of volunteers come together and renovated the building, built some beautiful new exhibits, some permanent exhibits. It's really sets us apart from other museums, other history museums. So we got a lot of cool things to offer and a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe.
That's awesome. All right, so tell us about some of that. What do you got to offer?
Okay. Inside the museum, some of our permanent exhibits, one is the map room. People love the map room. We've got aerial views, bird's eye views, historical maps. People are always drawn to that. They come in and, you know, is Grandma's house still on there and that type of thing.
Right.
You know, when you look at some of these old maps and, you know, Highway 41 wasn't even a dream at that
Right.
point. It was just, it's crazy. And you had these three little communities that actually came together to make Appleton.
Sure.
You had Grand Chute, Appleton, and Lawsburg, and they were three distinct little villages, and they incorporated in 1857 and became the city of Appleton. So we've got all these old maps going back to that. And my favorite room in the library or in the museum is the Claudine and Jim Happel Fireside Library.
Okay.
Jim and Claudine were educators at Appleton West, and through a generous contribution to the museum, we created this beautiful, beautiful library with a fireplace, big oak bookcases, and that room is dedicated to Appleton authors.
Okay.
And all reference books, high school yearbooks. If you want to check out your old boyfriends, you can find them in the
That's
old
so
year-
great.
So we have high school yearbooks from all the high schools going back. We have the works of Edna Ferber from Appleton, probably one of the greatest authors of the last century.
That's amazing.
We've got a very extensive collection of her work, some of it signed first
Sure.
edition books.
Yeah.
Gladys Tabor collection, another famous author from Appleton. Ellen Court, who was the state's very first poet laureate.
Okay.
Ellen Court Park. We have
Sure.
her works in the library there. And then we've got a number of books that are brand new authors. One you might have heard about is Amanda Lauer. She had a
Yes.
big thing with.
We love Amanda Lauer. Yes.
So we've got her full collection of books
Okay.
in the. She's part
Sure.
of Appleton history, so
That's so
got a full
cool.
collection of her works in the Happel Library.
Very neat.
So that's fun stuff. Any
I feel
number.
like I
of-
could spend some time in
That's
that
awesome.
library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another exhibit that we currently have is Air Wisconsin.
Okay.
And that's kind of a hot button right now. I'm considering what's happening with Air
Sure,
Wisconsin. You
sure.
know, some of the financial
Yeah.
issues, and they're getting out of the passenger airline business and
Mm-hmm.
going into some specialty stuff. We have the history of Presto Products, which is a homegrown Appleton company.
Did not know that
Really?
either. Did you know that,
I
Nick?
had no clue.
I did not know that.
Oh, this is a great story. It started around 1960, I believe, or in the late 50s. These gentlemen quit their jobs at a paper company and decided to get in the napkin business.
Okay.
And they were going to make these little metal countertop things you see in diners where you pull the, the
Sure.
kind that people always overstuff and you can't get the napkin out.
Correct. Right. You
So-
end up with like 60 of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So they were going into that business, and their supplier said, we think it might be a conflict to sell you the paper to do this, so you better come up with something else. Well, they quit their jobs. They rented a building. It's like, now what are we going to do? So
They're like,
shoot. They're sitting at one of the owner's tables, and his wife is making sandwiches for the kids for the next day, and she's grabbing the hanger from the dry cleaner with this plastic draping over the top.
Sure.
And she said, what are you doing? She says, well, if I wrap the sandwiches in wax paper, the bread dries out. So she wrapped it in plastic. Who would have thought? So the next thing you know, we got a company making little plastic sandwich bags in Appleton, Wisconsin, who is now one of the world leaders in that. And
That is so funny.
so they grew from a little, couple-man operation to this huge international, huge concern.
That's insane.
And it's gone through a number of different ownerships over
Sure.
the years. Coca-Cola owned them at one time, Reynolds Aluminum, and so they've gone through a number of
Yeah.
evolving over the years.
I love that. That is so cool.
Another exhibit that we have, it's a permanent but changing and evolving, is the Mary Beth Ninehouse Sports Exhibit.
Okay.
And this is dedicated to Appleton sports. And the first go-around was basketball.
Okay.
So we've got lockers in there with jerseys and shoes and different trophies and awards from anything basketball in Appleton.
Sure.
Going back to 1970 when Appleton West won the state championship.
Okay.
We have a rendering of a Lawrence University girls basketball uniform from like 1923.
That's cool.
We have the coaches, local coaches, who have gotten inducted into the State Coaching Hall of Fame. Photos of them on the wall.
Do you have Kelly Davies Kimberly track. 1990s. Okay.
Well, if we were the Kimberly Historical Society,
Good
we
point.
would have it. We
Good
would
point.
definitely
Yeah.
have that.
It's just Kimberly's so darn close. It's like it's right there.
See, that's the only reason they don't have it.
Right.
You know?
But
Right.
still, it's kind of
Yeah.
like a stepchild. So we
Yeah, it's a
not going
stepchild.
to
You're right.
not going to give it the attention. But we do have Brian Butch's basketball
Oh, that's
shoes,
cool.
which
Yeah.
you could float down the Fox River in those things. I mean,
Yeah.
I know he's like so tall. And
I saw him once at a Timber Rattler game.
did you?
Big dude, yeah.
That's awesome.
so yeah, he was there for our opening of that exhibit. And,
That's so cool.
one of the cool things I like about that room, we have a jersey from an NBA ref who was an Appleton native, graduated
Really?
from Appleton East, Blaine Reichelt, and was in the NBA for 25 years. And considered one of the top referees, and very few people knew that. And when we contacted him, he sent his warm-up jacket and his referee jersey, and so that's on display there.
I think as a referee, the goal is to not have people know your name, though. If people know your name, you're probably doing something wrong.
Exactly. One of the other permanent exhibits is we have the Lamson Preferred Cable Cash Carrier System.
Okay.
If you think about in modern times, we go to the drive-through bank and we use these vacuum tubes to
Correct.
send money back and forth.
Yep.
Back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, department stores used something similar, and it was a cash carrier system. You didn't have individual cash registers in each of the departments. So when they did a transaction, they would put the money into a little car that would be attached to a cable, and it would go up on a track up into usually a second-story office, and then the accounting department would write up the receipt, make the change, and then it would send it back on this little car.
I love that.
So
That's so great.
the one we have is from the Glaudeman's Gauge department store,
Okay.
which was on the site of where the PAC is now.
Oh, sure.
And they went out of business 25 or a little over 25 years ago when the PAC was built. And one of the descendants, Judge Mike Gage from Appleton, knew that cable car system was up there in the attic somewhere. So he rescued it and stored it in his garage for the last 25 years.
That's so cool.
So we called him up and said, we're from the Historical Society. He said, I've been waiting for this call.
That's awesome.
First of all, to get it out of the garage, and second of all, to bring this thing to life.
Yeah, and bring it to the right people.
So
That's awesome.
we proposed to the board that we're going to put this rackety old track system right down the middle of the building and do some curves and twists. And lo and behold, we had two of the grandnephews of the Glaudemans come in. One of them was a millwright. And he says, I can put that thing together. And so we had a team of volunteers put this thing back together. From what we understand, it very well could be the only operating system, at least we know of in the Western Hemisphere, but
Wow.
possibly one in the world. So,
That's so cool.
and and kids love it. It just, you see this thing, it's like watching the train go around the tree at
Yeah.
Christmas
Right.
time. Kids love it.
Oh, yeah.
So we're doing some extensive research on that, trying
Sure.
to document the history of this device, and it's such strong ties to Appleton. And at one time, we believed that the Gina's department store had one, Glaudeman's Gage had one, the original Penny's had one, and it's possible the Pettibone department store, they all had that type of cash
Sure.
transferring system.
That's so cool.
That's really
It's
neat.
fun stuff.
You know what I always think about? I always think about, like, what are people going to say that we do right now? Like, oh, back in the 2000s.
Yeah, like, can you believe people used to just hop in a car and drive places?
Right. Like, it blows my mind to think about, like, because I feel like technology is so great, but there'll obviously be things in the future that.
Back in the early
We don't
1900s, they probably looked at that thing thinking, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of next? You just put your money in this thing and it disappears.
Right. Like,
and
they were thinking, like, we're really living.
Exactly.
Yeah. That is so funny. I love it. Oh my gosh.
So another permanent display that we have is the Courtney Woolen Mill exhibit.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
this
that's
is
been a big thing.
This has been a real big deal for us.
Okay.
And this could never have happened without the new building. So last July, Tom Courtney, fourth generation from the woolen mills, decided to retire. He's been there 52 years. And it was like, okay, he worked there from the time he was 14 years old, worked for his dad, worked for his grandfather, and the mill had run continuously from 1880 until last July. And what they
Holy
did
cow.
is they would bring in raw wool, and they would put it through what was called a picker machine, which was like a big shredder, and it broke it down into smaller components. And then it went into a batting machine, and this batting machine took the wool and it just pulled and stretched and combed it into what you would use as a wool bat for making quilts.
Okay.
So back in the day, I mean, you think about this, in the 1800s, 1900s, everybody had a quilt. You had to.
That is so true.
We didn't have heating systems like we do today, so you had to have a big, heavy quilt.
Right.
Most likely it was made by grandma or mom or whatever. So everybody has ties to the Courtney Woolen Mill, and they did business through all of northeast Wisconsin.
Okay.
And we've got some of the old ledger books, and it's funny because my wife is from Antigo, and she's found family members, their names in this ledger book from like 1920, where they came in and bought batting or brought in quilts to be rebatted. And at that time, they also made and sold yarn. So it was kind of a big deal.
That is so cool. And it also makes me think of our grandmother, who passed very recently, but she did quilts for everybody. My kids have quilts from her. Quilts was like everybody had you're right. Absolutely.
So when Tom shut down the business last July, and we happened to have taken over ownership of the Franklin Street property, and we had a location for it. So what we did was we assembled a group of volunteers, and these guys had some retirees with mechanical backgrounds and electrical engineering backgrounds, and people that had worked on paper mills, and just a great group of guys that really were itching to take on a project like this. So literally went down there, disassembled this machine. We created a room at the museum with the same type of wall covering, just big old pine boards stained to match the old mill, beams that are matching the old mill beams, and we replicated the mill as close as we could possibly come.
That's so cool.
So we got the machine all set up, put back together, and through the help of Tom Courtney, flipped the switch, and it's running like a Swiss clock.
Really?
So rather than have this static old batting machine on display, we have it running just like you were walking back into the 1800s.
Yeah, I know that was a big thing, in the news for a while, as everybody was concerned, what's going to happen to that building, and, the mill's going out of business.
Right.
Yeah, so that's very cool that...
And Tom reached out to the State Historical Society, reached out to the Smithsonian, and everybody says, well, we'll take parts and pieces of it, but... And this is a cute story, too. There's only one reason why we can have that machine in our museum. Where it's located, there happens to be a double door, and there was an addition put on in the museum at that time with a solid concrete slab. And the reason for that addition is when Alex's Manor House took over in 1960, they couldn't get a liquor license because they were too close to the Baptist church.
Uh-oh.
So they had to be within 300 feet of the Baptist church. So they built this addition and changed the entrance. Well, because of that entrance, because of that addition, it now holds this 170-year-old batting machine
that is so funny.
Otherwise never would have been in that
I love
museum.
that. It all worked out.
Whoa.
So
that is so funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that building is really... So are you guys open? I mean, obviously you're open to the public. What hours are you open to the public?
Thursdays are open from noon until 8 p.m. Fridays from noon to 5.
Okay.
Saturday from 10 to 4.
Okay.
And Sunday from noon to 4.
Okay.
Now, the admission into the museum is $5 a person, which is pretty minimal.
Absolutely.
But Thursday night is a fun night for us. Thursday from 5 till 8, it's free. Every Thursday night.
Thursday night, 5 to 8 is free?
Free, and
That's awesome.
we have programs every Thursday night.
Okay.
Have some type of event. And I mentioned about the Presto products.
Yes.
Last week, the person that put the products Presto exhibit together was a former safety director for the company, retired.
Okay.
And he decided to do kind of a reunion of employees. So we did that for last Thursday. It was Presto night. Well, we had 77 people show up for this
Wow.
event, and one of the former presidents, and it was a lot of hugs, a lot of retirees that were happy
Sure.
to see each other. So
That's really neat.
so those are the kind of things that we do on Thursday nights.
Sure.
We've done a ton of book signings.
Okay.
I mentioned, a lot of local authors.
Yes.
Amanda Lauer was there, did a book
Yep.
signing, did a little presentation on how she got into the business. And then we had another local author, Bab Smith. She's written 3 books on kayaking in Wisconsin. She came in and did a PowerPoint on, where the shipwrecks are and the hidden beaches, and that was a fun one.
So neat.
About a month or so ago, we had a former police officer, a retired police officer. He serves on our board of directors, and he was a beat cop back in the 70s, walking College
Sure.
Avenue, checking doors. And so he said one time, he said, "Hey, did I ever tell you about the time I almost got shot during a liquor store robbery?" I says, "No." And he started to tell. I says, "Can you write down about 10 or 12 stories? Just a headline, Clark
Yeah.
gas station robbery,
Uh-huh.
liquor store robbery, murder,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Just write down those 10 or 12 different story, and then sit down on a bar stool with a microphone and then just tell stories."
Absolutely. I would be
And-
all for that.
It was so cool. I mean, he sat on the stool. We had 30, 40 people kind of in the round,
Sure.
and just an intimate setting, talking Appleton one-on-one history.
Yeah.
So,
That is cool.
Fun.
so
That is awesome. So you do every Thursday night. You
every
do that.
Thursday night.
Wow.
This Thursday we're doing I can do it because nobody's going to come after me. We're doing like an antiques road show.
Okay.
And tell, if I say the and tell.
Sure, and tell. Yes,
And it takes
yes.
away the copyright.
Right. Yeah.
So people are just going to bring stuff in
Okay.
and talk about it.
That's
And-
really cool.
And what we'll probably do is we have a huge archives in the second floor of the building,
Sure.
which is people bringing stuff in all the time. We catalog it, and it's a real involved process where we catalog, photograph, analyze it, do all the things that we have to do to preserve it.
Sure.
So we'll bring some of the stuff out of the archives and show some of that off as well. But
That is. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like I could really get in. I could really get into this.
Cataloging is a lot of work.
it's a
Oh, I
big
believe
deal.
it.
It's a big deal.
Oh, I believe it.
But this week is really special too. We're also going to be doing a reading of the Longfellow poem, "The Ride of Paul Revere." And listen, my children, and you shall
Sure.
hear the midnight ride of Paul Revere. Friday is the 250th anniversary of the ride of Paul Revere.
Wow.
And as you know the story, or you should have been paying attention in grade school, Paul
I'm
Revere
really
was
trying.
assigned the task, if the British are coming, how are we going to signal the troops?
Yeah.
And it was 1 if by land and 2 if by sea.
Sure.
So as we know, they came by sea, and what we're doing at the museum is every night at dusk, the second floor will have 2 lanterns in the window showing that the British are coming, and it's 2 if by sea. So whether they come down the Fox River or how they get here, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But we'll get a guy on horseback running down College Avenue saying the British are coming.
Love that.
So anyway, we've sent out a press release this week letting everybody know that this is what those 2 lanterns mean. And if you're paying attention and you know that the secret code is 2 if by sea, anytime from now till the end of the month, you'll have free admission to the museum if you just tell them 2 if by sea.
2 if by sea.
So
You heard it here first.
You heard it here, guys. I love that. That is
Well,
so fun.
the other part of it is the mayor loved it and asked if he could get 2 lanterns for his window. So the mayor's got a corner office, I believe.
That's
and
so cool.
So if you go down College
Catching
Avenue,
on.
look up, you'll see 2 lanterns in the mayor's office as well.
That's awesome. Oh
So-
my gosh. I mean, wow, I'm impressed. Like, you guys do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on there.
Well, we moved into this new building, and the attendance is just blown up. The exhibits, like I said, are Smithsonian quality exhibits, and we really want to bring people in. We really want to share. I mean, history is only as good as who you share it with.
Right.
These Thursday night events have been so much fun. They've been so intimate, and we're showcasing people that are passionate about history and also writing about history. On the 24th of April, we've got John Hagan. John is a Appleton author as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's a retired flight nurse, and he was also a coroner, part-time coroner for the city. And his latest book is called Coroner Calls.
Okay. Oh.
So he's going to be offering perspective on what it was like, to get out of bed at 3 a.m. and go do a coroner call on a car wreck or.
I'm gonna have to read that.
So
that sounds really interesting.
So we're excited about that. May 1st is one of my favorites. Another Appleton East graduate, Michael Seibel, is coming in. Michael is a very well-known Hollywood director, producer, and writer. And he's written a book, it was called December 1974, and it was the story of him hitchhiking from UCLA Film School back to Appleton in December of 1974 and all the things that go along with it. I read.
Oh, that's got to be cool.
And this was Vietnam War era, so
sure.
The hairstyles, the clothing, the
behavior,
the contraband,
exactly.
Right. I read the book. I couldn't put it down because I felt like I was sitting in the back seat riding along with him on this journey. But Michael's done some pretty impressive movies. One you might recall was called The Ultimate Gift.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That was a story of a Texas billionaire played by James Gardner, and he was given his fortune to his family, and the grandson had to go jump through some hoops. Well, anyway, that was directed by an Appleton East graduate. So.
Really?
I love that.
So Michael's going to come down to the museum on May 1st and talk about his life as a Hollywood director and producer and writer, and he said he's also got a special announcement about another book. So
okay,
I'm excited for that.
I wonder if our mom's an Appleton East graduate. I wonder if they're
maybe they're friends.
Yeah, who knows? Mom tends to know everybody, so
she just brings up the weirdest
Hi,
stories sometimes. Like, oh yeah, I know so and so.
That is so cool. And my dad went to school. This was back in the day with William Dafoe. Mm-hmm. At West.
And he probably knew him as Billy Dafoe.
And that's exactly the story that he told me. He's like, yeah, it's funny because back in the day, that's what everybody called him. And I was like, oh, interesting.
We're trying to reach out to Mr. Dafoe because, I personally believe that he's the most famous person from Appleton.
Sure.
Just based on his body of work. Yeah. I mean, the film career has just been incredible.
Right.
And the Green Goblin from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I know he's kind of turned his back on Appleton, and to be honest, when he left in '72 or whatever year it was, Appleton was not the same place it is today.
Right.
And but it's changed. I mean, it's become this incredible mecca of
amazing
arts and entertainment.
Appleton really is fantastic.
And just so much, such a progressive community. And I think that he would find that it's a much different place than he left. Mm-hmm. And I think that the people would certainly embrace him if he would come back.
Billy, William, if you're listening,
I think
come back.
I think he's living over in France or someplace, so he might be in a different time.
Right. That is okay. I was going to ask you if you thought that he was the most famous person that came out of Appleton. Who else? Do we got anybody else that you can think that you know of?
There's a big one.
Houdini, obviously.
Oh, right. Duh, Kelly. Like a whole museum. Yeah. Yes, right.
The Edna Ferber.
Edna Ferber, yep.
Brad Smith, the Microsoft guy, the CEO of Microsoft.
Oh, yeah.
There's been any number of people that are quite famous.
Yeah.
When we started doing the library and started collecting works of Appleton authors, if you just Google what authors came from Appleton, Wisconsin.
Sure.
And expect to get a half a dozen names, and you got 2 pages of it, and it's like, oh my goodness, that's just cool. Some really people that have made their mark.
That's really cool.
And as we get into most current history, I mean, there's a number of people in the music business that have really made their mark as well.
Sure. Sure.
Some people that, the ones obviously we know about, whether it be Corey Chisel or some of, his gang. But there's a number of guys that have kind of flown under the radar that have really made their mark in the music world that are from Appleton.
That's awesome. Very cool. Let's talk a little bit about houses, because I love houses.
I know a little bit about
like
houses.
You know about some houses in the area. What can you tell us? Like, I mean, there's obviously houses that are on the historical register, right?
Yeah,
and
you've got the City Park Historic District.
I love that area. Tell us anything you want. Anything.
Well, I'm a window snob. I spent my entire career in the window and door business, and retired last spring. And a big portion of what I did was historical restoration, preservation, replication, and so I know what an OG lug is on a double hung window, and most people wouldn't. So with that, I got involved in a lot of historical homes.
Sure.
And one thing I should say is people that have historical homes, don't be afraid of the Historical Society. We have no jurisdiction. We have no governing ability to slap your hands and say, don't do this or don't do that.
Okay.
As a homeowner, you have every right to do whatever you want to your house, and don't let anybody tell you any different. From a historical perspective, there's certain things we'd like to see people do or not do.
Sure.
But as a governing body, we have no authority over anybody as to what they do. So if you own a historical home, please reach out to us, and we're there as a resource.
Make a partnership.
To help you, to understand maybe things that should or shouldn't be done for prosperity reasons, or to preserve the historical value of the house. So
yeah, I love that.
So you don't get all these landlords that keep painting the ropes on the windows. It really bugs me.
Well, so and I love that advice. I really, really do. I feel like you must have a good story up your sleeve about like a historical home in Appleton.
I do have a story about one particular home, Appleton's oldest house. When I was in the window and door business, I love this house. It was Appleton's oldest. It's a small Greek Revival cottage, and the house had been originally it was located on Lawrence campus, where the fraternity house is, the quadrangle. In 1935, Lawrence was going to tear it down, and this couple who were actively involved in the Historical Society bought the house for $50 and moved it across town to where close to the county courthouse over on 5th Street.
Oh, sure.
And I think the house had, at the time I looked at it, was not being lived in. And I told my wife, I says, you know what, I should buy that house just to replace the windows. They had put in plastic replacement windows in the front. They put in these casements with transoms above, and totally wrong for a Greek Revival cottage. I mean, that needs double hungs, 6/6 double hungs.
Sure.
So she's like, okay, what are we going to do with this house? And I said, well, we'll just do kind of a flip on it. Well, once we got into it, and it took a little more than what I expected, but that was COVID years. We couldn't go anywhere, and
we had some time.
We had time, and unfortunately, everything took more time.
Right.
Windows were 12 to 16 weeks out, and product wasn't available. So, but we did a period correct restoration, or I should say period sympathetic restoration on the house. So 1851, it didn't have a bathroom, and if it did, it was out in the backyard somewhere. The kitchen wouldn't have been anything like a modern kitchen.
Sure.
So what we did is we restored the house with the bedrooms and the living room and the kitchen, or in the dining room, is historically correct as we could, and then the kitchen and bath are kind of 1920s vintage.
Okay.
So, kind of respecting the whole time that the house was moved.
Very cool.
We got done with it. It's like, now what are we going to do? We want to share it. So we've gotten the Airbnb business, and it's been a lot of fun. It really has.
That's awesome.
We've had some college professors stay there. And one college professor, she was a history professor from out in Massachusetts area. And she actually started doing research on the house when she was here. It's like, well, that's kind of cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So it's been a fun project, and we've been doing open houses there
Sure.
a couple times a year for the
Okay.
Historical Society. I think we're going to do one mid-May,
Okay.
and probably do another one sometime September, October, and we'll open it up on a Sunday afternoon. We get really a lot of traffic because people always,
Oh, I believe it. It's so cool. So this is again 515 West 5th Street.
correct,
Right?
right over by the courthouse.
Appleton's oldest house.
1851. Now, it's not the first house.
Sure.
I mean, the first house is long gone, but is the oldest original house.
Sure.
And basically, it looks exactly the same from the exterior as it did in 1851. And you got to think
That's
back
really
then, there was a lot of people living in huts and log cabins and who knows what. So
Life was a
pretty,
little
pretty primitive.
little bit different.
Pretty primitive back then.
Yeah,
Wow.
because they originally described Lawrence as what, like the school in the woods or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, Lawrence predates Appleton. Lawrence goes back to 1848.
Oh,
So this house would have came around, 3 years later. So
sure. Wow. How do you learn all of this and keep this all straight?
It just, if you're interested in it,
Sticks
it's-
in your
it's-
brain.
yeah.
See, I'm really interested in it. I really am. But it's like lining it all up for me would be tough.
The other, like, the cool thing for me is the perspective of it. Like, if you think, like a soldier returning from World War One, for them at that time, this house was still 60 plus years old. They're going out to look at houses. They're like, oh man, look at that old house over there.
Right.
That's crazy with that.
That's true. Yeah. Do other people open up their houses sometimes in Appleton? Tom, like I'm talking, the old historical homes, because that's always something that I think. Okay, so I was kind of telling you a little bit about, and I won't get too much into this because it hasn't happened yet. But I really want to do historical home book on the Fox Cities, and I feel like, well, when I first got the idea, what I wanted to do was more of like a parade of homes for old homes in the area for historical homes, because the parade of homes is great. And sure, for those of us that want to get out and look at, new construction and new builds and what builder we might want to use and all the things, it's wonderful. Great. But let's really be honest.
Yeah, nobody celebrates old houses.
The old historical homes are what people want to
Yeah.
see. Give the people
Well,
what they want.
there is
right?
a ongoing home tour for the historic Third Ward,
Okay.
and it kind of basically starts at the Hearthstone.
Okay.
And there is a walking brochure
Okay.
where you can literally walk down Prospect and
Sure.
5th Street and 6th Street and all those streets around the courthouse.
Sure.
And the houses are all mapped out, and then there's a brief history of each one of the houses. Now, they're
Okay.
not open to the public,
Sure.
but you can walk there. And I thought at one time that the Hearthstone had a phone app where you could get a little recorded message in front of each of those
Okay.
houses. I'm not
Kind of get some more details about them.
I'm not sure that's
Sure.
currently active or not. But it was funny because on our house, I had 3 ladies standing out in front, and they had the brochure in their hand. And I was doing, and this was before we'd finished the house.
Sure.
And I saw them out there on the sidewalk, and I said, "Are you doing the walking tour?" And they said, "Yes." I said, "You want to come inside?" Oh
They're
my gosh!
probably like, this is amazing.
So-
Yeah, that would be like my best day ever.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, of course I do.
But again, all these homes that are on the historic Third Ward, they're all private residents, and I'm
Right.
sure it'd be difficult to arrange
Sure.
open houses for all of them.
Oh, for sure. The last time my husband and I mentioned I love Charleston, I love the historical homes. We were just there, and the Charleston Historical Society, they did this huge, it's like their biggest fundraiser of the year. And you get to, obviously you pay a bunch of money, but you get to go and walk and then go into a bunch of the houses. It's only lasts for a couple days, but they do that once a year. And apparently it raises I'm sure it raises a lot of money because everybody wants to see like that old piece of history and, and what it was and what it is now and
Yeah.
all the things. So I think I just would like to bring that up as a possible future fundraiser.
Well, that certainly could be something that the society would look
In your
at.
free time, just.
Well, it's funny. This last week we had the, and I'm not going to mess up the name. I think it's the Historic Central Neighborhood in Appleton. It's a little group that's gotten together, and they came in for a tour.
Okay.
and a private tour. We brought
Sure.
them in the morning, so there's no interruptions,
Yep.
and it's kind of fun because they all live in historic homes. And but again, I think that people need to understand that the Historical Society is a great resource. We have research teams that
Sure.
do projects for people, and it's no charge. I mean, we certainly welcome donations,
Of course.
but it's a lot of time people will come in or call and they say, "Hey, we just bought a house on Hancock Street. Can you tell me the history of it?" And
That's so neat.
we'll have the research teams just dive into it, and these guys are just crazy with that stuff, and they'll tell you who lived there, and if anybody got shot there, or,
Yeah.
what are any skeletons
that.
in the closet, previous owners, and so forth. So
Sure.
Yeah, I follow the Facebook page, and I see that a lot on there too. Or it'll be somebody that's like, "Oh, I live in this house," or my grandpa used to own this place, and what do you know about it? And then somebody comes back with like a huge essay about the house. I'm like, "Holy cow, that's awesome!"
yeah, if you want to know any Appleton history, go to the Appleton Historical Society Facebook page.
Okay.
And I think we're over 10,000 people in that group.
It's awesome.
And it is just crazy. As soon as people put a little tidbit of information, like, "Hey, I found this coat hanger in my grandma's closet at such and
Sure.
such a business. Can you tell me about it?" And the next thing you know, we got the whole family history and when they went in business, when they went out of business, where they were located. It's fun stuff. So
I love that. And like you said, it's a partnership. You're not trying to be Big Brother. Right?
exactly.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I know in Charleston it's a little different. They are very, ooh boy. You buy one of the houses on their historical register, and like you have to use certain color paint, certain contractors, certain materials, certain everything, and it's like, whoa, that's a different ball game. But here, what you're saying is it's not as strict,
Exactly.
not as crazy.
So I know one of the houses that's been talked about a lot is the house on College and I believe it's Rankin or Mead, the big
that was recently redone.
the Italianate
Oh, sure, yes,
two-story house.
yes.
They're in the process of restoring that, and obviously the whole community is buzz about it because it's such a high-profile home.
Right.
And the owners are doing a great job.
Sure.
I mean, they're getting it right. They understand it, and but obviously they're apprehensive too that it's their home. They're the ones writing the checks.
Right.
And, they have every right to make the decisions they want to make.
For sure.
And all we can do is sit back and watch
Yeah.
for the results.
Well, and let's face it, houses back then and what we want and need today don't always line up, right?
Well, there was another one that sold a little while ago in that neighborhood where it was, a massive house. It's like a 3,000 to 4,000 square foot house, and there's no air conditioning and
Right.
none of that. It's stuff that we think is standard now, but back then it's like, yeah, why would you ever even thought of that?
Closets were teeny
Very small.
tiny and it's a different way of living.
Usually what happens in those old homes is they'll sacrifice a bedroom to turn it into a huge master bath because the bathrooms were small.
Right. Well, I think you you don't have to, but like, again, it's just what we're used to
Modern
now.
living,
It's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So
Well, and nobody has the giant farm families anymore where you've got 12 kids too, so
That's
you don't need all
true.
the bedrooms as much.
that's a good point. What about like downtown Appleton? What are some of the things that have been around for a really, really long time? I mean, I could pick out probably a couple bars or restaurants.
The oldest building on College Avenue is, I think it's a noodle shop, which
Okay.
is right in the middle of the mall on the north side.
Oh.
Most people remember it as the old Burger King building.
Burger King.
And that was right in the
Yes.
middle of the mall.
Is that the Burger King that had the upstairs?
Correct.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that Bowl 91 or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
And those people purchased the building, and they contacted the Historical Society, and they said, "We got some really neat stuff in the basement." So obviously we're kind of anxious to see what they
Sure.
might have. But that is the oldest building. And
Okay.
from what I understand, some of the limestone that was used to build the building came out of the Fox River. So
Okay. That's really neat.
one of the right across the street, you got the Zolke building.
Yep.
And one of the cool things with our museum is you walk in and we've got a reception desk right by the front door, and the countertop is a piece of marble from the Zolke building. So
That.
when they did the renovations there, they saved bunch of the marble in the basement, and they said, would you guys be interested in a slab of marble? So we were foolish enough to get 4 guys together to go down in the basement and try to wrestle a
Sure.
400 or 500 pound
piece of
slab of
marble. Yeah.
marble. And one of the local fabricators, cut it and polished it for us. So
Sure.
first thing when you walk in the door of the Appleton History Museum is you're touching one of the most iconic buildings with the
That's
Zolke
neat.
building.
I love that. Oh yeah, I remember. I mean, I also grew up in Appleton and the surrounding areas, and oh my gosh, I remember that so much. Do you know what's really funny? Last week I went for dinner at Eleanor, which I absolutely just love that little place. And that's such a cute little area there too.
Well, the old timers would have known that as the Zussman grocery store.
Okay, I was gonna ask what okay.
That's where that was? Okay. I've actually heard of that place before.
It's small,
It
but it's
is.
cute.
It
It's
is.
really cute. It's an interesting little spot in a very residential, area. But I just literally a week ago put it together. I was like, gosh, this area is so cute. And then I was like, oh yeah, I grew up 1 block, 2 blocks over on El Dorado Street. Like, I used to live right here in this area. And I took it for granted back then, but that's a fun little area too.
My mother lived on El Dorado Street. Oh my goodness. Well, she's been gone for how many years now? From 2020, and she was born in 23, so right in the 1930s, she lived on
Okay.
El Dorado Street.
That's awesome.
So
I was there in the 80s and early 90s, I believe. That's another thing. Mom will probably text me later this week when she watches
Yeah.
this, and she'll go, "We were there from." Love you, Mom. But yeah, it's just funny because I kind of took that area for granted, but it's such a cute little. Go down by Peabody Park, and and there's
Riverside Cemetery.
Yeah.
Riverside is one of the most beautiful cemeteries.
It really is.
So well maintained, and talk about a history. I mean, there's a lot of history in that cemetery.
Oh, I believe. I've been there before, and it's like it's old. It's old. It's cool.
And a lot of those, well, that's not the original cemetery. The original cemetery is where the old Post Crescent was, downtown Appleton.
Okay.
And when they built that, they had to dig up all those graves and move them over to Riverside. And they're not sure they got them all. So there might be a few
That's
remnants.
a big project, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never knew that.
So yeah, there's some of those that have been re-interned from downtown Appleton over to Riverside.
That's cool.
That is crazy. Like, hey, we're moving,
Yeah.
and so we're just gonna
You've been evicted.
right. Our tenants are moving with us. Like,
I always wonder that, because sometimes
Wow.
cemeteries are in cool spots where it's you could build some neat stuff there. But
that is crazy. Tom, this has been the best thing ever. You're gonna have to come back because I feel like we could just I feel like pretty much anything that I say about Appleton, you'd be like, oh well, yes, and then, which I
Yeah.
absolutely love. I love that so much. That is so great. Thank you
Yeah,
for being
I-
here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Nick, did
I have
you
so
have
much more I
anything?
wanna know.
Well, did you have any burning question yet?
not
that
even really burning questions.
Okay.
Just, yeah. I was going to mention, we did have some people that we helped buy a house on Oneida Street a couple years ago. And the house is, 100 plus years old, I think. And they actually had a cool time capsule when they bought the house. So all the previous owners had left a note or something in this box and passed it forward. And it's just really cool. I would like to encourage people to do that in your homes going
I
forward.
agree. It's always fun when you see a little, or on
Yeah.
the ceiling in the basement, the old writing,
Yeah,
or
they
up
have,
in the attic.
Polaroids of old renovations that were done and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was neat.
Those are our favorite kind of houses to show. And
I did a little time capsule in our house, and it's a 31-year-old house. It's a real antique now. But we did some remodeling, and I stuck some newspapers and some drawings that the kids did, and a few odds and ends that we put in that little time capsule.
I love that.
Well, it's 31 years old now, but someday that house will be
Exactly.
131.
Well,
And it is. It's neat to know, who came before us and all the things. And I mean, clearly people are going to want to know that Tom Miller, who owned the oldest house in Appleton, lived there, I love that.
Well, we actually did some fun stuff at the museum. I told you about the library in there. We had volunteers build all these bookcases. They're beautiful, nice oak bookcases. But before we installed them, everybody on the committee signed the back side of it.
That's cool.
So,
I like that.
and who knows? I mean, hopefully that museum will be there for 100 years. But if it's not,
hope
we're
so,
going to. Somebody's going to figure out who was the guys that were involved with the work there.
Yeah. Do most this? Forgive me if this sounds like a really dumb question, but do most larger cities have a historical society? Is that?
Yes.
I mean, again, I've
So-
heard about some, but I haven't
Well,
paid attention.
the Appleton Historical Society's only been around for 15 years.
Yeah,
but
that's what you were saying. Yeah.
But the Outagamie County Historical Society has been around for
Okay.
over a
Sure.
century.
Sure.
But we felt a need that somebody needed to focus just on Appleton.
Appleton.
There's so much history just in Appleton alone that,
It really is.
and the Outagamie County, with the castle, they swim in their lane, we swim in our lane.
Sure.
And we both have stories to tell.
Sure.
And ours are strictly Appleton
That's awesome.
centric. So
I love that.
And an important part of that is that Appleton is in 3 different counties, so, Outagamie doesn't have a full say on it.
that's true. That is true.
Ooh, Nick getting all technical over there.
Technically.
Yeah. Wow.
Glasses.
Well, we'll end on the note of, and again, we were kind of talking about this before we went on. We can't say too much about it, but if anybody out there is looking for some really cool history, right, in the Appleton area,
Yeah.
really cool historical home,
We know of one that's for sale.
perhaps on the water, come and talk to us.
And
Yeah.
very iconic.
Very
Pe-
iconic.
People would know exactly what
People would know and love it. Yes. So come talk to
Yeah,
us.
call Kelly Davies.
Call Kelly Davies. Well, thank you again so much.
It's
This
been
has
my
been
pleasure.
amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you are just a wealth of info. I love it. I
Yeah,
absolutely
I'm very
love it.
happy.
I love it. Yes. Yes. All right. Well, Nick, should we talk about what's happening this weekend?
Yes, we got some weekend events.
All right. Here we go.
Let's see what's happening this weekend in the
All right. Are you going to do the
920.
first one?
I'll take the first one.
Okay.
Sure. So we have the Share Show
Share.
Friday.
She's never talk about
7:30 p.m.
history, right?
So at the Widener in Green Bay, superstars come and go. Cher is forever.
She really
For
is.
6 straight decades, only one unstoppable force has flat out dominated pop culture, breaking down barriers, pushing boundaries, and letting nothing and no one stand in her way. The Cher Show is the Tony Award-winning musical of her story, and it's packed with so much Cher that it takes 3 women to play her.
Wow.
The bright-eyed kid starting out, the glam pop star, and the icon.
I just want to say this. Again, I love that we do this every week because I find out about so many things that are happening that I wouldn't otherwise necessarily. And I'm going to this. I'm literally getting a ticket.
Well-
Tickets are between $38 and $88.
When you don't need a last name, you know you've made it.
Yeah?
That is such a good point. That is such a good point. I'm totally going to that. That is fast. I love that. That's fascinating. All right. Well, also this weekend is Cars and Coffee presented by Classic Mechanics. That is happening
cool.
at Classic Mechanics, 520 East Northland Ave, Saturday at 8 o'clock. Cars and Coffee is a morning automotive meet that inspires car enthusiasts to learn about the attending cars and their drivers. Our shop will also be open for guests to tour as well. This is a family-friendly event. Takes place Saturday, April 19th. So again, this coming Saturday from 8 to 11. Come and go as you please. It says we're more than ready for this year's Cars and Coffee events, and we're so excited to see you at the shop. So that's, again, Classic Mechanics, 520 East Northland Ave.
Speaking Appleton history, I think that used to be a grocery store. If
That
this
was,
wasn't
yes.
yeah.
Tom's like, I will confirm this.
Cool.
Yes.
It still kind of looks like one, but now it's like a garage. So,
I love that. Okay.
okay. So then we have Earth Day, Work Day, and Cleanup.
Yes, that's right. It's
Saturday.
Earth Day.
Yeah. Big weekend. 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Triangle Hill Chalet at 500 Beverly Road in Green Bay. Join BCPF for our annual Earth Day, Work Day, and Cleanup in the Baird Creek Greenway. Let's see. Meet between 8:30 and 8:50 to sign liability waivers and enjoy coffee, hot chocolate, and breakfast items. Projects will begin at 8:50 to 9 and end at noon. Feel free to leave beforehand if needed. We will be completing invasive species removal, trail projects, and a pond cleanup project to make it a more accessible space for education programs. We will also have trash pickup for those with kids who would like to get involved, but we do not see a lot of trash on the trails thanks to those who pick up trash along the trails on their hikes. Bring gloves and a water bottle, shoes, boots, and clothes that can get dirty. RSVP and give more info. The website is givebutter.com/Earth Day Workday.
Very cool. All right, OAHS Easter Egg Venture. It's also that time of year, right? Saturday, 11 a.m. till 1 o'clock at the Oshkosh Area Humane Society, which is 1925 Surgery Center Drive in Oshkosh. Hop on over to Oshkosh Area Humane Society at 1925 Shelter Court this Saturday for free family fun. You can get your photos taken with the Easter Bunny, enjoy an egg hunt and games for the kids, spin the prize wheel, learn about real bunnies, and adopt a mini stuffed bunny to take home. I was like, oh, now my daughter's going to want to go, and she's going to think we need a bunny. Yesterday, we were coming back from the Dells, and the Dells has that deer park, and we stopped there on the way home, and
She wanted deer?
yes. She goes, now, Mom, do you think we could get a deer? I'm like, okay, ma'am. And we currently live in Kimberly. Like, that's not...
You have a 3-foot fence in your backyard?
Correct. It's not going to happen. So we don't need bunnies either. We have 3 dogs. Reserve your free ticket, though, for one of their arrival time slots, 11 a.m., 11:30, 12, or 12:30. So you can go any of those time slots. Reserve your free tickets. It's givebutter.com/Easter25.
25, the number.
Very cool. Yeah, 25.
And I'm thinking Kylie threw in this last event because of the theme of this week.
Oh, I've done this before. This is one of my favorite
have.
things. Yes.
So it's Mystery at the Museum, Saturday 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the Hearthstone Historic House Museum, Prospect Avenue in Appleton. Join us for an all-new live game of Who Done It in the unmatched surroundings of Hearthstone's beautiful interiors. You will not be watching. All guests assume the persona of characters and try to solve the mystery using evidence, clues, and conversation with the other suspects. The experience includes food, wine, and other beverages served by our docents in the roles of maids and butlers. Prizes are awarded for best costume, best acting, and a grand prize for the first to guess the identity of the killer. These events fill up fast and are limited to 23 people per evening. All proceeds support Hearthstone. For more information and tickets, go to our website, hearthstonemuseum.org/events, or contact us at 920-730-8204.
Tom, have you done that before?
I have not. But
It's really cool.
I've heard it's great.
I'm going to guess it was Colonel Mustard with the lead pipe in the conservatory.
First, you win. There you go. No, I love, and it's funny because I love Clue and I love all murder mysteries and all that stuff. And then when they did that there, I was like, oh. And it was really neat. They send you ahead of time, like who you're going to be, who your character is, and
How you're supposed to dress.
yeah, it was fantastic. Well, fun. Obviously, once again, there's a lot of fun stuff happening in the community in the 920 this weekend, and it's Easter weekend.
Happy Easter, everybody.
So happy Easter, and hopefully everybody can enjoy some time with their friends and family and loved ones, and just let's enjoy some nicer weather too, right?
All time.
Yes, it really is. All right. Well, thank you again so much, Tom. This has been fantastic, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. To contact the Kelly Davies Homes team for all of your buying and selling needs, call 920-791-9047. Find us on Facebook at the Kelly Davies Homes team, or go to kellydavieshomes.com.